What's up, boys? This is Contango coming at you from Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. And today I wanted to do a video about the opening setup for G40 Alt-Universe, and specifically things that I'm changing in the opening setup. If you've been following along at all, you know that I'm still considering this in a bit of a beta test phase. I didn't want to change anything about the map itself, and ideally not change any of the rules. I guess I'm still open to changing national objectives, and the other thing I'm still open to changing is the opening setup. So I did decide to make a few minor tweaks. You'll see they're not really drastic changes at all. Haven't made any changes to the national objectives, but so for now it's just some changes to the opening setup. And the reason for that is, you may remember going back, I had a contest for a map giveaway to get some people to try out the game, give me their opinions on it and on the balance and how their games went. So partly from that and partly from my own playtest, I thought that the balance pendulum needed to swing ever so slightly back towards the Axis. In the internal history, I guess, of G40 Alt-Universe, going back to my internal playtests, there were, I guess, several iterations where it seemed like the Axis were definitely overpowered. So it had been going in the Allies' direction that I would make changes for a long time. So I guess at this point, it's just a slight swing backwards into the Axis favor. And that came out of the games that were played and also the games I played internally. And so you'll see they're not that great of changes, but I guess the reasons being just to boost the Axis winnability a little bit, especially in terms of a game where the Axis go after France. Obviously, that's going to be the hardest thing for the Axis to do in some sense, because you're basically adding another ally that you have to, like, look at all these extra units here, extra units down here, and kind of scattered. So in games where you go after France, that's a number of extra units you have to kill that you didn't have to in another game where you're not bringing France into the war. If you're unfamiliar, France starts the game indefinitely neutral, so the Axis can play in such a way that France never joins the war, if they decide to. So partly that, partly I guess just some regional balance. You'll notice most of the changes are kind of down in this area. The green, blue, and red dice are laid out to show you where the changes are, but we'll get to that in a minute. So yeah, especially the games where the Axis are going against France, but wanted to help Italy out a little bit here and change some of the regional balance that was happening in this area. So I guess that's the reasons, and I'll try to explain each one. So let's start with, I guess, the additions, since there aren't very many of those. So what I've got laid out here is green dice represent something that's been added to the opening setup. Red dice represent something that's been taken away from the opening setup, and blue dice are a change just in placement. So the units are the same, but they've moved around a little bit. So let's talk about the additions first. So two things here, a single Italian infantry and also a minor factory. So the single Italian infantry went into this territory right here, just to boost them ever so slightly. Just the kind of regional balance in this area. Italy was having a tough time in a lot of games, so I wanted to give them a slight boost, and more on that later. But the other addition is that minor factory in F5, and you might say, I thought you wanted to help the Axis. Why are you giving the Allies another factory? Well, in games where the Axis are going against France, obviously Germany is going to take that quickly, and that gives them an extra small money boost. They get 3 IPCs from France for taking that, and also it gives them another factory on near the front line here that they're going to be forming against the UK. So what tended to end up happening is Germany would roll through France pretty easily, get into that UK territory, the first one here, and then basically get stuck, depending on how much the Allies were bringing over there, and the UK may be upgrading that factory and so on. But anyway, so that's going to help the Axis out more really than it's going to help the Allies. So that's the purpose of that. So that's the only two additions. So let's talk about subtractions. So the first thing is this transport down here used to be up here with that cruiser, so that's gone. So that's just giving the US a little bit less of an initial push if it's coming across with transports, either to help the UK or to, you know, land down here against Italy, wherever that transport's going. So just a little bit less of a punch for the US. Next thing is this destroyer. Can you see that? Yes. So this destroyer was here with this cruiser, so that's gone. Gives Germany a little bit less to deal with if they decide to go after this on the first turn, again in a game where they're going after France. So that's another subtraction. Then we've got two infantry here, so one Russian infantry and one UK infantry. So the UK infantry came off of right here, and the Russian infantry came off of right here. And again, that's just to help the balance in this region, to give Italy a small leg up compared to what they had before. So that's it, 4 subtractions. So six total additions and subtractions, so obviously not a huge change. So then let's talk about the units that moved. So first of all, this destroyer right here was here. So the purpose of this is it means that this 103 C zone is no longer blocked from Japan. What I was noticing happening a lot is Japan really doesn't want to go to war with the UK early in the game because they have a big national objective for not being at war with them. And also there wasn't a ton that they could really do to them. So this means that, number one, this destroyer is definitely in range of Japan. I mean, it always was. But Japan could kill that. Also, though, they can kill this carrier, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But it means that's available. It also means one less unit that could stack up in C-Zone 88. And what was happening in a lot of games is the UK was basically just consolidating all of its fleet, along with this battleship over here, just consolidating up here, and sometimes at the same time they would be attacking Italy with a lot of air power up here, getting rid of a ton of their land units, and then, you know, maybe building a carrier here as well on the first turn. So they could basically wipe out at least one of these territories of Italian units, and then have a stack of naval units big enough that there wasn't a lot Italy could do to, well, they didn't have enough in range to do anything about it on the first turn. And by the time they did get in range, the UK could add so much to it that it was almost never going to die. So basically this opens up the option that Japan, if they want to, well, let me come back to that. But so this carrier and tactical bomber also were up here to begin. So that leaves that now open to Japan. So Japan's got the opportunity to kill that if they do decide to go to war with the UK on the first turn. And we also moved this fighter. It was here with the city. So one less thing protecting that, and also one less plane available to hit some of those Italian territories. They could still hit this one and land on a carrier, but anyway, so giving the UK a little bit less ability to neuter Italy on the first turn. So we also gave Italy a moved an anti-aircraft gun. It was over here, I believe, so that moved to here. So the UK still could go after that, but it's going to be a lot more difficult now. They've only got 5 units sitting in UK 22. They could transport get a couple bombardments with the battleship and the cruiser, and get some planes in on that. but it's a bit harder now, a bit more costly. So, and then over here we also moved. There's a cruiser and a destroyer right here. They used to be up here in Sea Zone 72. So now these are here, and that means they're in range of Sea Zone 88, if it's not blocked, of course. So it gives the UK a bit more to think about here if they're thinking about stacking up in Sea Zone 88. They could still do it in 102, but that's further away from the Italian ground units, and it means they can't kill a lot of those off with planes while still stacking up their fleet at the same time. So that's kind of some of the reasoning for that. And as you can see, mostly all of the changes are happening over here in this area. There's one other change, so let me slide over here. So you see one infantry in F20 that didn't used to be there. That was in F13 here. So so that means that that city is going to be a little bit more open if Italy or Germany gets a chance at it, but especially if Germany and Japan are both deciding to go after France early, Japan can come from this side, and it gives them one less unit to have to roll over in F13 there if they're going after that city. So I think that's it. I'm not sure if I missed any. I don't think I missed any of the units that moved. So as of right now, I haven't made these changes live on the AAA game as of the time that I'm shooting this. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to put it up, but I plan to make those changes in the near future to the AAA game, as well as the files that are on the forum. I haven't updated that yet, and I plan to do that soon as well. But I have a game anticipated this weekend if everything goes according to plan. I'm going to go to Young Grasshoppers, and we're going to have a game of Alt-Universe, and we'll see how that goes. And I guess that'll also add into the feedback about this new opening setup. So yeah, so if you have any comments on the changes, if you played the game and you have any comments about how it went and the balance and things like that, send it to me, leave a comment. You can get in touch with me on the forums as well, or email me at axisalliescontango@gmail.com. And so I guess that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and talk to you later.